Hi, and welcome to Tango Topics Music Exercise Series. I'm Miles Tangos. This is a 10-part series on the building blocks of how to listen to the music and what to listen for using a few exercises I teach my students. As our base today, we'll be using the song Una Emoción. The title translates from Spanish to English as emotion. The word EMOCIÓN is called a Spanish cognate. There are lots of these in Spanish, over 1,000 of them actually. These are words that sound just like their English counterparts and mean exactly the same things. Words like actor, nación, ficción, colección. There are also, as you might imagine, Spanish false cognates, which sound like an English word but isn't. Like for instance, the Spanish word éxito, which sounds like the English word exit, but in actuality means success. Or the Spanish word sopa, which sounds an awful lot like the word soap, but in reality means soup. Today's agenda is as follows. Section 1, a metronome exercise. Section 2 is listening to the song. Section 3 is the orchestral anecdotes. Section 4 is beating the song. Section 5 is respecting the pauses. Section 6 is beat and pause together at last, at last, at last. Section 7 is hearing the singer. So let's get started. Section 1 is a metronome exercise. Before we can work with the song itself, we have to do a little foundational work. As you may have realized by now, tango music is incredibly complex and multi-layered. So as a result, it's difficult for some people, not everybody, but for some people to keep time in the music. This is why it's incredibly important for us to use a few metronome exercises to help us to recognize or discern a beat by itself, independent of anything else. As it happens, the same exercise will help us with becoming really clear with the tempo of a song, or in this case, the tempo of a metronome. So as an exercise, you want to set a metronome at about 60 BPM, beats per minute, and then tap out that beat or walk out to that beat. I use an exercise. I use an application called Tempo. There's a paid and free version of this app. It exists for iOS as well as for Android phones as well as for tablets. You can find a link to the app in the description below. So in this part of the exercise, all you're going to do, the only thing that you're going to do is you're going to tap out the beat for a few measures. However, there is a kicker. You can't watch the screen while you're doing it. That kind of sort of defeats the whole purpose, now doesn't it? All right, so let's give this the whirl. Yes, this exercise is really helpful if you not only just tap it out, but actually you walk it out in more ways than you can possibly imagine. I can't do that because I have limited space here. However, you might want to try this with just walking it out. All right, I'll let that go. Now we're going to add something to the equation here. We're going to add what's called a progressive to the metronome, meaning that we're going to automate the tempo to increase every two beats every 4 seconds. So I'll show you what I mean. The paid version and the free version both have this capacity. So I'm going to set this to by time, and you'll see there that it's increasing by 2 every 4 seconds. All right. So we've set it at 60 BPM. What I'm going to do is I'm going to let this go until about 80 BPM. All right, I think yeah, okay, that's 80. All right, part of the reason that we do this is actually multi-layered. Most notably is that we want to train ourselves to, quote, keep time, unquote, as well as to correct any issues that we have with anxiety as to where the beat is and what the tempo is. If this seems like a really simple exercise, you can skip to the next section. Please see the time codes down below to do that. Ready? Let's do this one more time. And 100. Sweet. Okay. All right. That's basically the exercise then and there. You might want to try that with a walk, doing the progressive with the walk, and then try to work that out. Again, do not look at the screen. It kind of sort of defeats the whole purpose while you're doing it. All right, let's move on. Section 2 is listening to the song. Today's selection of Una EMOCIÓN is a tango at about 64 BPM, beats per minute, and is about 2 minutes and 37 seconds in length. There are two common versions of this song that you'll hear at Milongas. The first version of the song was recorded by Lucia de Mare for Odeon Records with Raúl Barrón singing on September 3rd, 1943. Here's a small, very small sample of what that sounds like.
Vengan a ver que traigo yo en esta unión de notas y palabras. Es la canción que me dio, la evocación que anoche me acunaba. Es voz de tango, volado en cada esquina.
Yes? Okay. The second and arguably the more popular version, which is actually today's example, which is by Ricardo Tanturi and was recorded for RCA Victor Records with Enrique Campos singing on November 17th, 1943. The instructions for this part are really simple. All you have to do is listen to the music. That's really easy. I can do that, Miles. However, there is a catch. You can't move while you're listening to it. No tapping, no snapping, no moving a muscle at all, not even an eyelid, not so much as a twitch. All you want to do is drink in the music. You want to use your ears and just listen. Every time that you move, you mar that intellectual process that we're looking for. And I'll explain what that is in just a little bit. All right, so remember, no moving. I will point at you and go, not. All right, so let's hear this. Just the song itself. Make sense? All right. We're going to do that one more time. And what we're trying to actually do here is focus on the music and what's going on in the music. Part of the reason why you're not moving is so that you focus on the music and not try to discern the beat or try to figure things out. This is a really important skill that you need to develop going forwards. What's the skill? You're learning how to hear how the music is structured, where the repeating elements are at, and ultimately how you're getting ideas about how you're going to dance to it. All right, so let's play this one more time. Make sense? Okay. You might want to try that just a couple of times on repeat and really just drink in the song. All right, let's move on. Section 3, the Orchestral Anecdotes. Ricardo Tanturi went to school to become a dentist, but as a young man he played the violin. It was his brother Antonio that convinced him to give it all up and to play the piano. When he started his commercial career in 1924, he played out in clubs, festivals, basically anywhere he could get a gig. It was another 9 years in 1933 when he formed a sextet calling it Los Indios, or the Indians. Throughout the rest of his career, he named all of his orchestras and working groups Los Indios. Oddly enough, in 1927, Francisco Canaro recorded a song called Los Indios, which is actually the name of a local popular football team at the time. So here's the odd part. Tanturi, who, remember, called all of his groups Los Indios, he never recorded a version of the song. In 1937, he got his chance to record for Odeon Records, and record he did. But unfortunately, not to great commercial success. Truthfully, during his lifetime, his instrumentals and works were regarded as weak or just lacked consistency. Today, on the other hand, we view him as one of tango's luminary musical pleasantries that we enjoy listening to and dancing to. His songs evoke a sense of melancholy in the style of Julio de Caro. It wasn't until about 1939 when he incorporated the singing gynecologist Alberto Castillo when everything changed for him. Castillo was a showman in the truest sense of the word. The singing doctor was suave, he was debonair, he let his necktie loose, he even unbuttoned his shirt when he sang. In today's world, that's like, huh? Yeah, I don't get it. Remember, this is 1939. Button shirts, kind of sort of important. He handled that microphone like a street vendor would. He appealed to the women in the room. He had a masculine elegance to him. Not to mention he had some killer hairstylings going on. Basically, he emoted when he sang to the women in the room, who quite honestly swooned over him left, right, and center, as was evident in his gynecological practice, as there was very little room very little space in his waiting room. The pair ended up recording about 37 songs together, including the hits, one of my favorites, Pocas Palabras. Still another is La Copa del Olvido. And still another is Así se baila el tango, just to name a few. However, somewhere at about 1943, he decided to pursue, quote, other opportunities, unquote. Read that as pursuing a solo career. Enter the Uruguayan singer Enrique Troncon. Who? Truthfully, it was Tanturi that gave him the stage name that we all know today. Tanturi opened up a phone book, flipped through a few pages, and pronounced, "Here it is! You shall now be named Enrique Campos." And that's how he got his name. Campos made his debut with Tanturi's orchestra on Radio El Mundo and immediately began cutting records with him. The two would go on to record 51 songs together, including, again, one of my favorites, Oigo tu voz, still another is El Sueño del Pibe, Al Pasar, and of course, today's selection, Una Emoción. Campos was basically the polar opposite in terms of showmanship with regards to singing on stage. He preferred to sing in a non-showy fashion so that the orchestra was highlighted or accented and not the singer. His style, on the other hand, was very precise, crisp, sharp, and concise, but decidedly reserved, which you'll hear in a little bit when we play him a little bit later on in the lesson. All right, today's exercise deals with the beats and the pauses, and a very small taste of the singer. But really the bulk of the components of what we're hearing is the beat and the musical pauses. These are the base elements that we have to become really fluent in, first and foremost, before we can actually begin to interpret the music. I believe, and some may disagree with me, that you can't necessarily interpret the music until you've mastered hearing the component elements of that music, or in this case, the beats and the pauses, and more importantly, the structure of the music. I believe that you can interject ideas and become inspired by the music, but ultimately that inspiration can become marred without some level of structure. And that's what these exercises are all about, creating the base structure so that you can begin to interpret the music. Let's dive into Una Emoción. Section 4, beating the song. Sometimes these titles, I'm telling you, they're a little tricky. They're a little all right. In this section, you're going to tap out the beat of the song itself. What I've done is I've gone through and added a beat marker for you to help you to hear where the beat is in the song. And basically what the time signature is of that song. So all you have to do is really just match the beat with the beat marker. Just a note, if you feel like you can get this stuff immediately, you can skip to the next part. However, I'm gonna invite you to stick around and just try it out once or twice before you do. And the reason I say that is because most people think or believe, and they quite literally make the mistake that they get this stuff immediately. However, what you and they may not realize is that they have tempo issues and thereby either race the song, or they're behind the song, or they're ahead of the beat, or they're mishearing the song in halftime, or they're mistaking the melody for the beat entirely. So just humor me for a half a few beats and just stick around and try and basically just check yourself. All right. So let's bring up the beat version of this and let's try it out. All right. We're going to try that one more time. And this time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tap out the beat without the beat marker with you. And if you feel like you're screwing up, do not worry, because you can always rewind back to this point if you feel like if you feel like you're not getting it until you feel like you get it. All right, so let's give this the proverbial whirl. Yes? All right, let's move on. Just rewind that a couple of times until you can feel like you're getting it. This is section 5, actually, respecting the pauses. See, we're almost through. In this section, what we're going to do is we're going to tap out the pauses or the rest of the music. Respecting the pauses has a myriad of different reasons why we engaged in them. One common reason you want to stick to, you want to do this work is that the pauses are basically markers to hearing the musical phrases that happen in the music. So instead of trying to focus on the phrases, you focus on the pauses. Yes? All right. In tango music, there are 5 common pause types. Type 1 is a stop or a cessation. Type 2 is an instrumental flourish, sometimes represented with a violin trill or a piano roll, as you'll hear in the song. Type 3 is a diminished note, which doesn't actually happen in this song, but we will hear it. We will see an example of this later on in another episode. Type 4 is a musical paragraph, which serves double duty. It's a pause in and of its own right, but it also serves as a boundary marker between 2 different musical ideas, which is marked by shave and a haircut. Bump, ba-da-dum, bump, bump, bump. It's that bump, bump that we hear that ends the musical paragraph that we hear so often. All right, and then finally, type 5 is what we call the singer's breath, which we'll hear a little bit later on when we hear Enrique Campos. All right. Truth be told, there are actually 13 different types of pauses. However, we're only dealing with the 5 common ones here because that's what you'll hear more often than not. Hence the reason why they're called the 5 common pauses. You'll find an article on this on tangotopics.com that talks about these ideas in detail. So go look at the link in the description for more information. In this song, we're only going to hear a type 1, a stop or a cessation, a type 2, or an instrumental flourish or piano roll, and then a type 4, the bump bump in this example. All right, so let's try this. What you're going to hear in this example is when you hear the pause, what you're going to hear is me saying the word pause. That's how you know it's a pause, right? All right, here we go. Pause. 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 Make sense? All right. This part requires a little bit of practice to hear the pauses, as it's not something you're going to get immediately. It takes a little time and practice. Okay, I am lying through my teeth. Read that as lots and lots and lots and lots of practice, as in 10 or 15 times on repeat. So we're going to go through that one more time, this time without the markers in it. And I'm going to mark them out for you. And every time that I hold up my hand, that's a pause. Yes? All right, let's try this. Got it? All right. So you're going to ask me, Miles, Why is it always silent when I ask that question? Why do we need to hear the pauses? To which I would say, I'm so glad you asked that question. There are actually 3 reasons why. Reason number 1, this is tango's singular reset button, meaning that you can and should reset the embrace and or the couple, which is kind of sort of important because it prevents the dreaded racing around the floor that happens so often. Primarily though, respecting the pause, as it's called, is to prevent the couple from getting out of physiological alignment with each other. I'm sure you've all had this happen where your partner squeezes to hold on to and hold you in place, as the song wears on and on, that position gets even more and more and more unwieldy. So stopping at a pause to reset yourself and your partner is kind of sort of helpful instead of trying to hold on to a position that is wholly untenable. Not to mention it's also a logical place to engage in a reset instead of stopping somewhere willy-nilly that has no relationship to the music in any way, shape, or form, which doesn't look all that pretty. All right, so pauses, kind of sort of important. Reason number 2, this is a logical place for us to change our vocabulary choices from one idea to the next, thereby invoking some kind of structure. Or order. For lead, that would mean changing our vocabulary at the pause from, say, a walk to ochos, or ochos to turns, or turns to crosses, and so on. For a follower, that would mean engaging in either an adornment or an embellishment at the pause to accentuate the trill of the violin or a piano roll, and so on. Reason number 3, and this one's kind of sort of more important than you realize, is that this is the beginning point of structure. It is not the structure itself, but it's the beginning point of structure, so that we can create order to our dance, so that it doesn't look so haphazard, which happens quite frequently. But rather, we want to create a one-to-one relationship so that what we're doing fits with what's happening in the music. This is also the place where once we've mastered these pauses, or markers as I sometimes refer to them as, is that we can begin to actually interpret the music, but only at that point. So let's play this one more time through. We're actually going to do that one more time, only this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to type the pauses for you so that you can hear each one individually. What I'm going to do is I'm going to raise my hand and type it like so, a type 1, a type 2, or a type 4. Yeah, 4. I had to count fingers there. All right, so let's try that one more time. Okay. What I want you to do is I want you to rewind from wherever I started that last one, and I'll put a time code down below so that you can see how to go back to the rewind point, so that you can play that over and over and over again, because it's kind of sort of important before we move on to the next section. All right, moving on to the next section. Section 6, beat and pause together at last. Okay, we're enough. In this section, we're going to tap out the beat and the pause together at the same time. This exercise is essentially doing 2 things at the same time: hearing the beat, and 2 is discerning the pause simultaneously. For some people, this is a lot like tapping your head and rubbing your belly at the same time. So here's a tip that will make things just a little easier for you. All right, all pauses land exactly on a beat. One more time. All pauses land exactly on a beat. So it should be, ha ha ha, he says, it should be beat pause together, and not beat pause or pause beat. No, 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 no. It's beat and pause together, like this. It's going to be beat, 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 pause. Beat, 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 pause. Beat, 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 pause. Got it? All right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tap out the beat with my left, and I'm going to indicate with my right. Mind you, I'm right-handed, so this is going to be a little challenging even for me. All right, let's try this out. Got it? Okay. Again, rewind the tape. I'll put the time code down below, so just click that and you'll be good to go. And just play it out a couple of times and you'll get the idea. All right, let's press on. Section 7, and we're almost done, is hearing the singer. In this section, we're going to listen to the singer very, one more time with feeling, very briefly. The reason why we're listening to the singer is so that A, you can hear a type 5 pause or the singer's breath. And B is that you actually get a chance to hear Enrique Campos because he has an absolutely beautiful voice. What we're going to do in this section is we're going to play it twice through. The first time through is so that you can hear hear it in its entirety, and the second time through so that you hear where the pauses are. And what I'm going to do is I will type out those or I will raise my hand to type it for you. All right, so let's move on so that you hear what we're yapping about, or what I'm yapping about here. What you're listening for is that every time that the singer takes a breath, that's a pause. So you're going to hear sing, 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 and then he stops, and then he starts again. That, where he stops, that's a pause. Ready? All right, here we go.
Vengan a ver que traigo yo en esta unión de notas y palabras. Es la canción que me inspiró, la evocación que anoche me acunaba. Es voz de tango modulado en cada esquina, por el que vive una emoción que lo domina. Quiero cantar por este son que es cada vez más dulce y seductor.
Yes? All right. Now we're going to play that one more time. This time I'm going to, every time that he takes a breath, I'm going to raise my hand.
Vengan a ver que traigo yo en esta unión de notas y palabras. Es la canción que me inspiró, la evocación que anoche me acunaba. Es voz de tango modulado en cada esquina, por el que vive una emoción que lo domina. Quiero cantar por este son que es cada vez más dulce y seductor.
Yes? All right. We're going to rewind that one more time because there are two things that I want to point out to you. One is, and one of them has to do not necessarily with the type 5 pause, it's a type 4 pause. At the very beginning of this section, what you hear is a bump bump. That's the paragraph marker right there that's telling you, aha, we're switching ideas. Yes? All right. So the second thing I want to point out to you is that sometimes with singers, it doesn't happen with Campos here, and this is that little thing that I pointed out a little while ago about, you know, crisp and sharp and clear. Is that sometimes what happens with singers is that they will elongate the note and then stop. What Campos does here is that he stops right on the dime there. And that's how you know, oh, okay, that's a pause right there. So he is indicating very clearly to you, that is a pause. Yes? All right, but some singers they'll elongate that note and then pause and then start again. Campos does not do that. He's very sharp, very crisp, very clear. All right, so let's hear this one more time. And again, the first point is you're going to hear the bump bump, and then Campos will start singing.
Vengan a ver que traigo yo en esta unión de notas y palabras. Es la canción que me inspiró, la evocación que anoche me acunaba. Es voz de tango modulado en cada esquina, por el que vive una emoción que lo domina. Quiero cantar por este son que es cada vez más dulce y seductor.
Yes? All right, that concludes our exercises. If you'd like to become more and more familiar with this piece, I strongly suggest that you do. You can find a link down below in the description so that you can work on practicing your beat and your pauses. You can also find a link for Ricardo Tanturi, Enrique Campos, and Alberto Castillo to learn more about them. And I strongly suggest that you do actually start to learn about your orchestras as well as their histories. I believe that by understanding the men, their choices, and their histories, it will help you to understand the music that you're dancing to, and really the music that we all love dancing to. And again, links to all that stuff is down below with a link to a really good translation from Castellano to English. You can also find what to do with this stuff on tangotopics.com, engaging the 5 pause types, as well as the 5 social figures, the 6 ways of walking, the 8 types of ochos, the 8 types of turns, the 256 types of crosses, and a host of other vocabulary information for both lead and follow. Whew. God, that's a lot. I hope you enjoyed this free and very brief example of Tanturi's version of Una EMOCIÓN with Enrique Campos singing. To hear more of these, please remember to hit the like button and then remember to hit the subscribe button to see more free content. And as always, thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in class. Bye!